Hello and welcome, Matt. This is Matt Bradley, who is a director of 19 Group. Good afternoon, Matt.
Hello, Dan. You okay?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Excellent. So thanks for appearing on the show. We're going to talk about a range of topics. But before we get stuck into trade shows, in particular, the one that you're working on that's going to take place in a couple of weeks. So for anyone listening or watching on demand after April the 26th, just bear in mind that this is recorded beforehand. Matt, you've had a long, don't want to age you too much, long distinguished career in the trade show and exhibition industry. Can you start by bringing that to life, how you got into it and sort of bring us to present day, please?
Yeah, I think like many people in this business, I sort of fell into it. Sure. I didn't sort of graduate from school and think, right, exhibitions, events, that's where I want to be. In fact, I actually trained as an actor, so I went to drama school. So I'm quite far removed from what my actual education was. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I'd fallen out of love with acting and was in a place where that wasn't going to be the part of the career I wanted to pursue. And I was doing some work. My dad was running or had quite a few nightclubs around London, so I was doing some work with him. And I just sort of stumbled across an ad. I can't even remember. It must have been through a recruitment company or something where they just sort of said, you know, there's an opportunity to work on a exhibition. Would you be interested? And I was just thought, yeah, absolutely. I just want a job. Sure. And I had no idea what it was about. No idea whatsoever. And my interview was at the Business Design Centre at the front end of the BDC. And they said, oh, do you want to go and see the venue now? And I thought that meant we were going to get into a taxi and we were going to go sort of 20 minutes around the corner. But they just opened these double doors and there was this huge venue. And I was just like, I can still remember that moment now. I remember it almost like, do you know, when you first go to your first ever football match and you see the grass for the first time? It was like that. I was just blown away and just thought, so what, we're going to fill this? And it's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And so I worked with the Business Design Centre for about a year on a contemporary design show, which was a good place to sort of cut your teeth. Sure. But every single client that I was sort of pursuing, I was a sales exec at the time, just kept saying to me, no, we're doing this other show in called Top Drawer. And sort of after my show finished, I just thought, you know what, I need to give these people Top Drawer a call because this is where everyone's going. So I put a call into the sales manager at the time, which is a guy called Andy Baxter, and just said, look, I've been working on this show called Mode. Everyone seems to be wanting to do your show, so I think I should really be joining you. And I don't know whether he sort of liked my tenacity or what, but we had a quick interview, and you know, within about 6 weeks, I was working with Marion. So, and I cut my teeth there for a long, long time. It was a really interesting. Clarion obviously was so much smaller back then, and you had so much more access to the senior management. So I got a real good education from the likes of Simon Kimball, Andy Baxter, James Brooks Ward, and people like that. So, and you probably, I don't know, you probably wouldn't get that access today that I had then. And I went from there and I worked with a company called the London Event Co., which was run by Rob McKenzie and Tim Etchells. So, you know, you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of event organisers, and you've got Kimball, you've got McKenzie, and you've got Tim Etchells. So I was really fortunate to be surrounded by some really good people very early on in my career. And then obviously that led to eventually launching my own company with two business partners, Nick Field and John Bednall, which was Legend Exhibitions.
Sure. So thank you. And interesting. Was it Italia Conti school that you were at? I think I read or I saw. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So I think acting and drama. I mean, you know, exhibitions are a stage, really, aren't they? Especially when they're live and you walk into that hall. Do you think
so? I never considered myself as someone that organises expos. I organise shows. I organise events. I organise experiences. I've never sort of put myself down into an expo organizer. That's not who I am.
Sure, but it is a show nonetheless, and obviously there's all the drama ensues within it. So tell me about Legends Exhibitions, and obviously then we're going to sort of take up to present day. Just give us a flavour of how that came to be.
Great. It was just great. It was just right place, right time, and I look back on that with so many sort of fond memories. We had, our office was above the Comedy Club in Clapham, which just on Leeson's Hill. And yeah, during the day, I mean, we used to have to go out around the back exit to get into the actual office, and that was up some steel steps where pigeons used to lie underneath them, and as soon as you put your foot on one step, it'd all come flying out. In the winter, when it snowed and there was ice, you could barely get up those steps. During the day, the whole comedy club was devoted to bands rehearsing, so you just had the noise of drums in your head, and it was just. And I remember doing sort of interviews with people, and they're saying, what do you want to do? What do you want to make legend? And I said, I just want us to do well enough that we can get out of the office we're in. That's my first step.
Short-term goals.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever happens after that, it's a bonus. And we launched a show called RBTE, which is the Retail Business Technology Expo.
Yeah.
And it was again, like I say, right place, right time. We worked hard. We were small. There was only 3 of us. I think 4 of us at the beginning, actually. But we were up against some massive companies. The EMAPs and the Essentials of this world, and we knew we had something, but we knew that we had to get people to listen to us. So it was real sort of sleeves rolled up. I don't think I took a holiday for the first 2.5 years, and that's not. I'm talking about a week. I'm not saying I didn't take even a day off.
Yeah.
For about 2.5 years, and we built this thing, and we lived and breathed it, and it was great because you were just involved in something that was actually really snowballing, and we sort of got a glimpse of it towards sort of 7 months in, where all of a sudden our phone started ringing rather than us constantly going out, and it was like, okay, maybe people are listening. Legend was a great time, and we benefited from the fact that we were in an industry that was moving so quickly. And I remember speaking to James Brooks Ward. I might be James, or might be even Simon Kimball, on like my first day of Clarion, and they said, have you got any questions? And I immediately said, well, how do I get rich quick? And they said, well, you need to come up with an idea for a show that is sustainable, that is moving, that is, that's going to be different every year. And you need to bring that into a business. And I had lots of ideas. And I used to go to Simon Kimball's office regularly to say, what about this? And he'd just go, no, that's been done. Occasionally he would say, oh, okay, maybe that's got some legs. So I was always quite entrepreneurial in, I want to try and do something that's different. And then with Legend, we found something that was really dealing with a market that needed an exhibition badly. The retail world had completely changed in the fact that it had gone from retailers talking to their customers about how they should shop to customers getting an iPhone and going, well, this is how I want to shop. So retailers had to sort of suddenly go, okay, well, this customer now has got more technology in their palm than we've got in our store. How do we adapt to that? So it was a really good time. And I think we launched it in 2011 in the back of the South Hall of Earls Court 2. By year 2, it was all of Earls Court 2, and then we had to move to Olympia for year 3 after Earls Court got knocked down. And within 3 years, it was the biggest show of its kind in Europe. And within about 6 or 7 months after that, the phone started ringing from other exhibition companies saying, we've got some interest in this,
sure.
When are you going to be in a position to sell? And I think after 5 years, we eventually sold to Reed, which I think in a way, I think it surprised me because I don't think I necessarily thought that Reed would be the right fit. But they, the team that I met actually, they were very convincing and they were very good. There were some very, very, very talented people in that room. The Darren Johnsons, the Kerry Princes. So it was great to be able to, sell the show, to see the value in it. And I knew that by going to somewhere like Reed, I had big plans for the show. I had big aspirations of where I wanted it to go. But as a business, we just didn't have the revenue or the finance to take us there. And I knew that Reed, with their massive amounts of financing and huge resources could get me to where I wanted the show to be in double quick time. So it was an easy decision to make.
Sure. And so obviously you did a number of editions under Reed's ownership.
Yeah.
And then obviously pandemic comes and you've ended up at 19. Just talk us about that. I know I've sort of fast forwarded pretty quickly.
Talk
to us about that transition and how that came around.
Yeah, it was. Our show was due to happen in April, and around February, when the pandemic really started hitting the UK, it was becoming clear that we weren't going to be in a position where we could run a show. And the book fair was before us, and they cancelled, and it was like, okay, well, this is just a matter of time then. Yeah. And we were disappointed when we had to cancel, but we knew that was the right decision. And then I took a phone call from someone within Reed who said, look, we're not going to be running retail. And I said, I know, I've been on the phone to most of our customers telling them that. And they went, no, you misunderstand. We're not going to be running it again. And I think at the time I took it really bad. It was emotionally, because I had that connection to it. It would be my baby that I'd brought up for the last 10 years. Just to think, God, it's gone was difficult. But I think now that I've taken a step back and looked at it for commercial reasons, at the time when Reed cancelled it, we didn't know what COVID was going to look like. We didn't know how long that was going to go on for. We didn't know how much damage it would do to our industry. And they had to make some sort of very quick decisions. And so on a commercial level, I totally understand and think for them it was the right decision. On a personal level, I was obviously devastated. Sure. And but it didn't take very long, really. Once we made the announcement that we wouldn't be running it again, my phone just rang and rang and rang and rang. And I had quite a few companies, exhibition companies, publishing companies, that just said, look, we will run this. You can run it with, come on board. You can run it with us. And it became sort of a time when I thought I might have to start being interviewed for jobs. That very quickly turned to me interviewing these exhibition companies to say, okay, well, who's going to put us best? And I was very, very close to putting pen to paper with one company. And at the 11th hour, I got a text from Peter Jones, who just said, I've been given your number. I'd like to talk to you urgently. And I've still got the text, actually. And I spoke to Peter for about an hour. And it was the way he described 19. And he didn't really promise anything as such. He just said, you tell me what you want. And that was it. It wasn't like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It was very much like, I know you can do this. So just tell me how I can help you do it. And I got on with him really immediately. And I have to say that it was probably the best decision I've made for that business since I launched it in 2010. So, and the reason for that is just because 19 are everything that they say they are. They are entrepreneurial. They like taking risks. They're so supportive of everything that we do. And they are, they're very well backed by Phoenix and our private equity company. So you've got security. So it's been an absolute revelation. And then the most important thing that Peter did say was, look, we want all of your team. So go and get them. And then it was the case of trying to get all of my team to jump and join. And that gave us the opportunity to start this show very, very quickly, because we had people that had the know-how, people that knew the industry, people that knew the show, people that I trusted. So that was imperative to making this successful. Yeah.
Thank you. Really interesting insight, because I'm sure lots of people in different shapes and form and guises, obviously when the pandemic hit, whether they lost their job or a show was postponed or, as you say, cancelled, or whether you part owned it or didn't. And then, something came that just turned around for you. But that doesn't just happen by chance. That is because of all the hard work that you put in up until that point.
Yeah, I think, and we've sold our show out now. We've got 6 weeks to go. Our show's completely sold out. Our registrations are better than they've ever been in any of the years I've run the show. We've got a conference program with the likes of Stephen Bartlett heading it up. It's when I think of where I was sort of 18 months ago, if someone had said, this is where you're going to be, I just wouldn't have believed them. And I think there's been, everyone in life needs a bit of luck. So I think we've had a bit of luck, but I think also that we have really, we've put our heads down and we've worked really hard on this. And I think that the team are quite rightly getting huge plaudits from the rest of the 19 business, because they've been absolutely phenomenal.
Sure. What I'd like to ask you, we were talking about coming up with concepts for shows, some that might not fly, some others that do. And obviously you've been involved at shows that have launched. If someone's listening now and they really feel they've got everything they need in their toolkit to manage a show, but they want to investigate certain markets, what's your advice to them, how you come up with an idea for a show? What's the process you go through?
I think it's got to be something you're very close to. I don't necessarily, I think if someone had access to my LinkedIn, they would see that 90% of my connections are not event organizers. They are retail professionals, because I live and breathe the industry that I represent through this exhibition. So I think it has to be something that you are passionate about, something that you're willing to sort of really completely throw yourself into. So, and that's what we've done with this. As I said, my LinkedIn is just full of retail connections rather than exhibition connections. So, and we have ideas, of course, but we speak to a lot of people a lot of the time as well.
Sure.
We have an advisory board made up of the who's who of retail.
Yeah.
Who look at us and talk to us every day to say, we're struggling with this part of our industry. And it's really because I get to sit in a very privileged position where I'm that conduit between a retailer and a vendor. And that's been really, really powerful, because retailers will give me information that they probably wouldn't give to a vendor, because they know that I'm going to use it in a way that's only going to help them. Sure. And likewise with vendors, it's very interesting to be able to say to them, here's what we're doing. This is what retailers are talking about. You should be interested in this, or you should be exhibiting, or whatever. So it's been, I think, being totally and utterly immersed in your industry is vital.
That's a really good piece of advice. Thank you. I think absolutely people can get a bit sort of obsessed with picking up connections within their own sort of industry, but actually if you want to work within another industry, you need to take and canvas opinion and understand how that operates. In terms of audiences, so obviously retail, if I said retail to somebody, it's massive, right? It's huge. Okay. And obviously you can't be everything to all people, not to start off with anyway. How do you decide? And again, if someone's sitting here thinking about an idea for a show or a sector, how do you decide what audiences you're going to target and actually put an event on for within that wider sector? Yeah,
I think that's a really good question. I think it boils down to where there's a need. Where is there a gap? Where is something not being fulfilled? And particularly with the retail tech industry, which is what I'm synonymous for, that's an industry that what always surprises me is about how much they share between themselves. So we read in the newspapers that there is this huge high street wars between supermarkets and shops. I can promise you that isn't the case. I've sat down with two major rivals who have said, actually, I'm trialing that at the moment. I'll let you know how it goes. So these guys are in a place where they are looking for guidance. They're looking for a roadmap. And if you can find an industry or a sector or a group of people that are, for want of a better term, struggling to see the right vision of their path, then you've got appetite for an exhibition. And, and that's really where retail tech came from.
Okay. So you've established the industry, you've established the types of personas that you want to get to that industry. We understand that you're going to build authority by immersing yourself within it. Venue selection, because obviously Retail Tech Expo is at Olympia.
Correct.
How does one go about selecting and sourcing a venue? Do you think about the first edition? Do you want to think long term, how you're going to grow it so you can grow into the venue? Are all of those considerations? Just tell us about.
No, it's very, very simple. I talk to our potential visitors.
Okay.
Whether they want it. You know, if they said they wanted it on the moon, I'd try and put it on the moon.
No doubt you'll succeed.
One day, maybe. There's no decision that's made for the sake of the show that isn't driven by our customers. And I remember when we were first launching RBTE back in 2010, and we looked at NEC and we looked at Earls Court, and Earls Court was a little bit more expensive actually at the time, probably still is, but obviously not now. And we went to our industry, and I remember thinking, because it was early days, budgets were tight, please say NEC, please say NEC. And then they came back and said, it has to be in London. We're like, okay, right, so London it is. So, you know, even from day one, we've been driven completely by what our audience wants. And it's it's never been about a financial thing.
Interesting. And you touched upon it earlier that obviously, we talked to the industry. You've built an advisory board of the great and the good within that industry.
Mm-hmm.
How else do you build authority? Because, okay, we come up with the show idea. We've got a venue. We know the type of people that we're going to invite. It can't just be you, Matt Bradley, and the team saying, come to this show. Obviously, we all like, you know, third-party endorsement, if you like, from people that we know and trust. Is it just an advisory board? What are the other ways that in the beginning of the early days you can build that authority of an event?
Yeah, I mean, building credibility is always something that's important early on. I've done that through various ways. Advisory board, yeah, absolutely right. You know, to be connected with those type of people. Our media partners are vital, you know, because they've already got a very good link with the industry. And then I think our conference program is very, very important as well, because it highlights the caliber of people that we are bringing into the show. And if you can get a Mike Coop or a Jeremy Schwartz from you know, New Look and the Body Shop, then you're relevant. And that's, and I have to say, it's about being visible.
Sure.
I've attended so many late night drinks, dinners, roundtables, conferences, wherever there was an opportunity to network with others, I was there. My team have followed up on that as well. So it's very much about putting yourself out there, but also using those people that can fast track that as well. So that's how I would always do it.
That's good advice. So you spoke about some of the conference speakers that you've got, and you've obviously worked with in the past. Would you say that still then content is king in this regard?
Yes, I think content is vital. I don't know if it's king, but it's definitely vital. It's vital in it grabs attention, and that's what things are about. My job has always been one thing, is to create a story so compelling that somebody will come out of their office and come and visit our show. Because we are not, you know, we don't charge anyone. Our commodity is their time. So I've got to somehow build something that says your time will be well spent if you spend it with me in Olympia on the 26th and 27th of April. And the conference program is a very good way of doing that. And what I love about what we've done this year with the conference program, which is what I've never done previously, is we've just completely ripped up the rule book and gone, who do we want? Like, not who would be good. It's like, who do we want? Like, who would you want to sit in front of? Who do you want to see? And obviously, Stephen Bartlett has a connection to retail, but that's not what he's renowned for. And so I think that sends a very big message out to the exhibition industry, is you don't have to be enclosed or encased by the industry that you are representing. You can go out far and just say, look, that's what I think is going to be good. And we've got, you know, we've named some major speakers, and I promise you, I think I've got one more in me. I've got one more announcement. I mean, one more maybe.
Can you give us an exclusive?
I wish I could.
So listen, I'm sitting there in the content team, part of marketing or speaker liaison, or however you want to call it. I want to get Stephen Bartlett. I want to get someone else at my show next year. How do they go about that? How do you do that? Is it just literally like knocking on doors? Is there a sophisticated method? Yeah,
I was driving up to XL to see a show a few weeks ago, and I rang his agent from my car and said, I want him to speak. What's it going to take? And he said, okay, that's good. And within 2.5, maybe a bit, maybe a week and a half, it was done.
Okay.
So it was very much that of, if you don't pick up the phone and ring someone, you're not going to get through there. So there was no, well, who should we speak to? It was just, all right, it sounds good. Let's make it happen. So I remember I called him and I got cut off because I had to go through the Blackwall Tunnel. So I remember really well. I had to come out the other side. And thought, how am I just his agent? And now
are you still there?
Still there? Yeah, and he was in Dubai as well. He was with Steve in Dubai. So he was sort of talking about it while he was lying on his sunbed.
But again, you obviously have to show the credibility of the show with all the different elements that we just spoke about. So
with people like Stephen Bartlett, he wants to see that you're passionate about what you're doing.
Sure.
Because he's passionate about what he's doing. And I think that sort of comes off very clearly from when you speak to me or any of the team. We're absolutely passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
We're absolutely passionate about making it a success.
Thank you. I want to move on to sales. You know, we just spoke about the power of just choosing your prospect and picking up the phone and speaking to them and obviously telling them the dream or understanding their pain points and then trying to see how you can deliver that. You've obviously been in the industry a while. Do you think how we build a value proposition for a show has changed, or do you think it's similar? Just give us your thoughts of how the sales team operate.
I definitely do. I think I come from a sales background. And I think my style of sales has changed significantly. I don't do a huge amount of selling. Well, look, I'm selling every day. That's who I am. I'm selling what I'm doing. I'm selling my ideas, selling the show. I'm selling the event. But I think the way I would sell today is very different to how I would have sold maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago. And it's very much about recognizing what the customer wants rather than what you have to fit the customer.
Absolutely.
And I think towards before I sort of moved off sales completely, I was going to meetings with people and just saying, I haven't come here prepared. I don't have anything. Because I don't know where your issues are. Why would I come here and say, here's how I'm going to fix your problems? I haven't asked you what your problems are. And I do encourage that the team has got a really good understanding. We don't sell 3x3 stands. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to solve solutions. We're here to connect people. We are, we are brokers of relationships, if anything. So it's very much about, and I'll be honest with you, I've said no to people. I've said no to people and said, I don't think this is going to be right for you. I don't think at this point, what you want to do is right for you. And I'm just going to say no. And I've encouraged that, and I think that's very powerful because it will serve us well when it comes to rebook, because we'll know what our clients have wanted and we'll know if we've delivered it or not. And we sit in a very privileged position right now in that we are sold out with 6 weeks to go. So all of my sales team at the moment are speaking to the entire exhibitor list and saying, we are going to make sure this show is successful for you. Here's our tips of how to do it. And they are spending all day at the moment on the phone saying, have you thought about this? Can I design some invites for you? Can I do this? And we are just doing everything we possibly can to ensure that our exhibitors get exactly what they paid for.
So that's an interesting point. Talk to me about that a bit more. How are you encouraging exhibitors? What tips are you giving them? Do you have is there a formal program in place, or is it just encouragement?
We've got an exhibitor hub, which is getting more and more traction as retailers are looking to register, and they are sort of searching for the sort of solutions they'll be looking for. So we're encouraging all of our exhibitors to have that up to date, to make sure their logos are right, to make sure their solutions are in the right place. We're also putting together unique URLs so that they can invite their customers, and we're tracking them as well. And we're going to offer prizes to the exhibitors that send the most. We are very good at organizing shows, and these guys are very good at selling their products. So we need to help them sell their products at our show, and we know what works. And having that intel from a very experienced sales team that I've got is invaluable for them. Sure.
And sales performance and measuring that performance, so dare I say KPIs, don't try it. Do you think that's changed over the years? Do you think it's more about the outputs now rather than the inputs? You know, I don't know, 90 minutes on the phone and 100 calls. What have you put in place?
I think at 19, we do have very strong KPIs that are monitored very heavily by our head of sales. But I think people aren't judged solely on that.
Yeah.
I think it's not a case of we look at a spreadsheet and go, okay, well, that person isn't succeeding. Inevitably, it tends to be the people that aren't succeeding are normally at the bottom of those KPI lists. So they do seem to go hand in hand, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that they're not doing the job in the right way. And certainly for, you know, KPIs will change as the sales cycle goes on. Yeah. And if you're working on a launch, it's obviously very different to if you're working on just an established show where you're just doing rebooks all the time. So I think KPIs are very important as a guide, and they help protect us as a business. But it's not something that, unless there is a pattern of regular failure to hit those KPIs, that I'm taking too much notice of.
Yeah. Just want to move on to marketing. So you've got this great content, you sold stands and sponsorship, hit your targets. You need to get people to the event, obviously, because one of the most important components of it, if not the most important component. How has that changed in terms of how we get people to the events, you know, over the last number of years?
Yeah, that's probably seen the biggest seismic change in the way that our audience digest content is changing and is evolving, and we need to stay one step ahead of that. And I think, you know, I've always been quite interested in how the exhibition industry and the retail industry seem to be sort of running hand in hand with this, in that you know, our consumers are demanding a lot more, and we need to work a lot harder in order to get you know, our visitors into the show. There's a lot more, you know, competition, and I think, you know, Phil Saw's the chairman of 19, and you know, God forbid I'd say a bad word against Phil, and he sort of often quotes that the exhibition industry is very, very simple. You know, you get exhibitors and you get visitors, and that's you done. And I think there's a huge amount of truth to that, but I also think that we have to evolve, and I think that I'd like to think that if there's anything good that could come out of the last 20 odd months of disruption, it's that the exhibition industry got the shake-up that it needed. You know, we now, and it helped because we know that a lot of our visitors that perhaps took us for granted are now saying that face-to-face is really important. Actually, I forgot how important it was until I couldn't get it. But I also think that as an industry, we needed to look at, you know, the wider option, you know, rows of stands, you know, the usual blue or red carpet that goes through a show. I think it's old hat, and I think we have to be a bit braver in some of the things that we're doing. We have to take a few more chances and a few more risks, and that's exactly what we're doing. I don't, you know, we've got a free conference there that I would put up against any paid for conference in the industry right now. I can't see how anyone can beat that. And I know they can't. I've looked at they just can't. Yeah. I don't think you will walk into our show, and I don't think you'll think you're at a trade show. You know, the way that we're making it look, the differences with, you know, the little nuances that we're changing. I think people will come in and go, this is actually an experience rather than just a trip to a trade show. You know, the features that we've designed, you know, it's all different. And again, the reason we're doing this is because I don't think saying to someone, come and see 196 retail tech experts is enough to get people through a door anymore. We have to do a bit more. And I think we are. I think we're pushing the envelope. I think we can push it a bit harder. And I think over the next couple of years, we'll look to see how we can do that. But I think there's a case to say virtual is not dead. Face-to-face is necessary. But how can we intertwine them?
Sure. Thank you. Almost there. Just maybe five or 6 minutes. You're right for time?
Of course.
Cool. Lots of people I speak to talk about omni-channel and 365 community building, or 365 engagement with their community, shall I say, and that trade show organisers are becoming more aligned with publishers. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, totally. Yep. I mean, I had 2 publications whilst we were at Legend called Essential Retail and the Retail Design World. And that allowed us to have that 365 interaction with our audience. And I think there is, you know, it's a bit like Michael Bublé at Christmas, isn't it? You know, we turn up 3 months before our show and we're sort of loud and we are, yes, we're definitely part of your industry. And then 6 weeks after the show, we go back to ground again, and you know, no one hears of us anymore. So I think there's a case, if you want to really immerse yourself within the industry, I think there has to be a case to say, is there a publication that will work for you? It has to be done right. The content has to be key. It has to be independent, and it has to be influential. And it can't just be a bundle of press releases that every other sort of magazine or publication is putting out. So I think if it's done rightly, it's done really, really well. And it's something that I would definitely be looking to explore over the next couple of years.
And I guess you'd agree it's also about ongoing communication, you know, after the show. Whether, yeah. So do you still think virtual's got a role to play in that respect?
Yeah. I think it does. I don't know necessarily if it's virtual, but I think mini sort of
digital,
or just sort of dinners, round tables, satellite events that happen throughout the year that keep you connected with that audience. I think are very, very important. And yeah, digital makes it a lot easier. But I think there's still a case to be able to do those things on every few months. And we look, to be honest, we produce a lot of independent reports around the retail tech industry that we give away for free. And that's because if all we do is talk about our show, we stop becoming part of the retail tech industry, or we become retail tech event organizers. And that's not who we are. We are part of the industry. We are immersed in the industry, and we are here to help with that industry. And we are, and that's why it's not just always about register here, register here, register here.
Yeah. And actually, someone said to me the other day, you know, they keep, will we see signs at the end of a show saying, thanks for coming, see you next year, or actually, you know, see you tomorrow, because there's going to be continuous, you know, engagement with people.
Totally. I think it's crazy, isn't it, to say to someone, I'm not going to see you for another year.
Because language is important. Language is important.
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's definitely a case for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go talk to my signage guys now.
You can have that advice for free. I took that from someone else. As with all the best ideas. Just quickly moving on to talent and team. In your opinion, do you think the types of people that you have recruited recently and will recruit in the future will be different in terms of the talents and skill sets that they require?
I think so. I think like at the beginning of our chat, I said that I sort of fell into the industry, and I think a lot of people do. You know, so it isn't necessarily about just taking people from a Clarion or a Reed or a Closer Still. It's about unearthing people that are just good. And I rarely look at CVs. I just like meeting people, and I get a vibe. You know, we're not rocket scientists. The jobs that we can do are relatively simple, but it just takes perseverance and it takes passion. And you can't get perseverance and passion from a CV. You just get it from the person. So I think we are in a really, really good position as 19 in that we have got some incredibly talented people around the business. I think the Exhibition News Awards is on Friday. I think they're up for like 14 different awards, and mostly that's around personnel, not necessarily around show. So it just shows the type of people we've got here. And it's a very young office. It's a very vibrant office. And there's a lot of, I'm learning a lot from some people, you know, that are sort of 20 years younger than me. And that's what this is about. And I think we've got some really talented people here. And what I've always liked about 19 is we don't tend to just employ people for the roles. We employ people and we find roles. Yeah. And that's always a great thing. And at 19, the one thing I can always say about them is they are incredibly supportive to people taking risk. And you know, they've not, I mean, Peter might regret me saying this. They've not said no to anything that I've asked for yet, and that's a testament to them. They've just got, we trust you, run with it. So that's been great.
Or maybe they know that you'll keep asking until you get the right answer.
They do know that as well. I just ask in different ways.
Just to finish up, what keeps you motivated, Matt?
Do you know what? I don't know if I can answer that, but yesterday I got a message from one of our exhibitors on LinkedIn, and I've worked with her since the launch show in 2010, and she stayed at the same business, and she just said, I just want to say huge congratulations. You know, what you're doing is really, really impressive, and you are bringing an industry that desperately needs to be back together. So thank you. So for me, that just feels me. That's why I do it. That's that, and it just, we are making a difference. Okay, we're not saving lives, but we are making a difference to these people's businesses. And when it's acknowledged by people, on like a private message, that's where it, because she's not looking to gain any followers, or, she's not tagging me in it or tagging RTS so everyone looks at their company. That was done on a very private, and I just thought that motivates me.
Matt Bradley, thank you very much for your time today. I wish you the very best of luck with your retail technology show, which is coming up the 26th, 27th of April at Olympia. You've given us some great advice on a range of topics. I'm sure people are going to listen to that and take that on board into their day-to-day. So thank you once again for being on the show. Dan, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Listen, keep up the good work. I love what you're doing. Thank you. Right.